What power structures in your life are collapsing down? And where do you feel like things will just never be the same again? Today's August 26th, and we are coming off of Venus in Leo trining Saturn retrograde in Aries. And as of today, Venus is perfecting its trine with Neptune retrograde. And into tonight, into tomorrow, depending on your local time zone, Venus will culminate with a Venus in Leo opposing Pluto in Aquarius retrograde. So what does all this mean? Well, before we get into it, I'm Michael the Hierophant. I'm a mystic and magi, and I invite you to join me every single Wednesday at 6:30 Pacific time for my spiritual, astrological, and divination-based workshop, Consciousness, Conjunctions, and Conversations. We get together on Zoom. It's completely free. We review last week's energy, how the aspects, transits, and celestial body movements showed up in our mundane lives. We tell stories to help thread the needle and make astrology a little bit more bite-sized and a little bit more applicable to everyday life, especially when you're first getting into it. So there's no basis of astrology knowledge needed. You can sit there quietly and just absorb, or you can participate as much as you want. We go over the following week's transits, and I teach you where to allocate certain transits and celestial body movements in your own spiritual journey, whether that's your highs, your lows, or everything in between, so you can make sense out of them, and you can take the lessons that the universe, that the creator is providing through this macrocosmic view of your own life, because that's what astrology is. We are all living in a cosmic narrative. We are constantly going down different routes in life, and there might be a fixed destination in mind that we chose pre-incarnation, but there's a million ways to get there. And when we're lost, overwhelmed, or drowning in the energies, which have been very intense lately, there's no better compass, in my opinion, than to look to the stars above, because the macro reflects the micro, and we can get a better sense of what's happening in our little insignificant lives at moments by looking at the stars above. So please, I encourage you to join me for my workshop. It's free. You can sign up at the link in my bio. Let's dive into what's happening today with Venus and everything that's happening around these Venus transits to give you a better idea as to your astrological story that's playing out with Venus, with Pluto, with Saturn, Neptune, and all the other players that are going on right now. So let's review. Yesterday, the 25th, Venus entered the sign of Leo. When Venus is in the sign of Leo, our desires, our dreams, our ambitions, our relationships with women, sisters, mothers, female partners, anything that brings sensuality, sexuality, sensual, sensitive pleasure to the physical vessel, that is Venus. And when it's in Leo, all of those themes become channeled through the lens of our inner child, because Leo is the zodiacal prescription of where we need to hone and really release our authentic inner child so that we can succeed in the world, in life, because the zodiacal chart all works together. Every sign has a prescription on how to act and how to behave, and when it comes to Leo, this is where we need to really let our inner child shine, because in some way, shape, or form when we were growing up, that light in whatever area of life Leo is for you, that light was extinguished or snuffed out, and now you need to bring it back to light. So yesterday we had Venus in Leo immediately trining Saturn retrograde. And Saturn retrograde is all about that physical reality check. It's all about where did you put off the work that you should have been doing yourself and put it on to someone else? Where did you offsite the work and say it's better that they do it than me? And Saturn's saying, no, 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 that is not true. You should have done the work yourself, and I'm going to give you a chance to fix it. Now, Neptune retrograde operates in a similar function, however, with a very different world of approach. While Saturn is all consumed with the physical reality, it's, like, why didn't you do the physical work? Why didn't you show up to that job? Why did you quit that job? Why didn't you go out and get a new job? Where did you not put the time and hours in? Neptune is asking you the same questions from a spiritual perspective. It's, where did you get off the spiritual beaten path? Where did you disillusion yourself with mystical delusion, essentially? And mystical delusion in this context does not have to be, I think I'm God, or I think God spoke to me, or I communicate and channel angels. No, mystical delusion, even in relationships, can look like, hey, they know that my mission is important to me, my spiritual mission, my mission in this life, so they'll be there to support me. And assuming that just because it's important to you, it means it'll be important to everyone else. This is a way we often become mystically deluded, or spiritually deluded, would be a better way to say it. So with Neptune retrograde trining Venus today in Leo, we are essentially getting the veil pulled back, and we're being asked, Where have we over-romanticized and mystically deluded ourselves, specifically in the areas of our life that our desires, our dreams, our ambitions, the things that bring us pleasure, or even the relationships with women? Where have we mystically deluded ourselves that it has impeded the progress that Neptune and Saturn have been trying to make in the Aryan section of our chart? And remember, Aries is all about innovation, pioneering, and leadership. It's where you need to stand out and be an individual. So with Venus trining this Saturn-Neptune conjunction, it's essentially bringing us a little bit closer to learning why didn't we show up as the Aryan person that we need to be in the Aryan section of our chart the first time around, because the retrograde is giving us a revisitation of those themes. Now, let's consider the fact that both the Saturn and Neptune aspects with Venus were trines. Trines are of the nature of Jupiter, and I like to play this game when I'm weaving the astrological narratives, that the aspecting tool, such as a trine, an opposition, a sextile, a square, they're actually operating and behaving not just in the nature of, but for the benefit of that planet. Now, if it's for the benefit of Mars, it doesn't always necessarily mean it's like a physical benefit to you. It's benefiting that celestial body. So a trine is benefiting the story that Jupiter is trying to tell. And it's actually very fitting because Jupiter is swimming through the exaltation of Cancer right now, where Jupiter's big story for us is, where have you not nurtured yourself enough or been nurtured enough so that you feel safe enough to be the regal, like royal version of yourself? Now, let's kind of dive into this more. Tomorrow and tonight, depending on your local time zone, but you will definitely have been feeling this, and they're intimately connected, and I will connect the dots in a moment. Venus in Leo is opposing Pluto in Aquarius in retrograde. And Pluto in Aquarius in retrograde is saying, where are these power dynamics that have been imprinted from the collective experience? And that collective experience might be from society, it might be how you grew up, it might just be the karmic patterns and the way things have always been done, and you know no different. So when Venus opposes Pluto retrograde, it's essentially manifesting in our lives, regardless of where it shows up in your chart, that you have these dreams, desires, ambitions, ways that you receive pleasure, and they're completely incompatible with the collective conditioning in the Aquarian section of your chart. And more than likely, these have to do with power dynamics. They have to do with someone said no to you once, or you believe that society says no to you. There's some power dynamic that Pluto's leveraging and saying, hey, if you really want those dreams and desires, if you really want to be pleased in that Venetian way, you need to reconsider what these power dynamics have done to you and how they have imprinted your consciousness in this life and how you've continued to act upon them.